Hey world, it's Ben Willie come back with another video. God, I want to talk about this situation here with Trump and Mexico and this, him wanting to shut down the border, and everybody up and on about him wanting to shut down the border. Let me preface it by saying this isn't like an anomaly or anything like that. I mean, JFK has shut down the border. Other presidents have shut down the border for emergency purposes. Now, with Trump, of course, this isn't an emergency. But I think what we need to understand is the history. Because once you understand the history, then you'll know it's all bogus. That this whole assertion of shutting down the border and keeping Mexicans, which is a nationality, but keeping people from Mexico out is really just a facade. It's really ridiculous if you understand the history. Okay, let's go back. Guys, you got to realize back in 1845, okay, Texas joined the United States in 1845. They annexed to the United States in 1845. But you got to realize prior to that, Mexico, owned Texas. Actually, it was called Tejas y Coahuila, or Coahuila y Tejas. Coahuila y Tejas was the name of Texas back then, back in 18 when Mexico owned it. And the reason why Texas was able to be taken from Mexico, I just think it was a situation where Mexico, in its own graciousness and desire to want to spread, they allowed certain people to come in, i.e. legal immigration. And who did they allow to come in? They allowed Americans, or people from the United States, okay? And so at the time, the United States probably had 20-something states at the time. That particular number escapes me, but I think Texas was the 28th state annex. So let's just say it's over 20-something states that was a part of the United States when Mexico decided to allow United States citizens to come down. Now, I think what happened was Mexico was naive. They thought that legal immigration and having people come here and come to Mexico was going to, like I say, populate those areas. Because Mexico, like say, Texas, California, Utah, all that area up there belonged to Mexico. But it wasn't dense. It didn't have population up there. So, it's kind of hard to say you occupy land when ain't nobody there. You dig? And that's why this whole assertion of manifest destiny was something that was prophetic when the Englishmen came over here and colonized, because if you remember growing up, you heard about manifest destiny. Well, that was the United States actual reason for saying we're going to occupy all this land, because they understood you can't control land if ain't nobody there. And when Mexico allowed U.S. citizens to come to Texas, they didn't know that the U.S. citizens were going to do their own thing. You dig? Mexico had some rules. They said if you come to Texas, you had to pledge allegiance to Mexico, you had to convert to Catholicism, okay? And you couldn't bring slaves, because Mexico, they didn't believe in slavery. And so all you had to do to be a Mexican citizen was to come to Texas, pledge your allegiance to Mexico, pledge your allegiance to Catholicism, learn the language, speak Spanish, and don't bring slaves. And the fourth thing was you had to live on that land at least 10 years, to get a good discount. That's why you hear about Moses Austin and Stephen F. Austin. Those were the guys that actually brought those families down here to Mexico, or to Texas, okay? And so when that happened, of course, the United States citizens didn't abide by the rules, because many of them were United States citizens, so their allegiance was to the United States. Just like when the British came to over here in the 13 colonies, a majority of them still pledged allegiance to Britain. You dig? And so when you flip the script and come down to Texas, well, Mexico, in their naivete, allowed so many Americans to come to Texas that eventually they started doing their own thing. And by the time that Mexico realized this, it was too late. By that time, United States, Texas had the backing of the United States. And so when you talk about remember the Alamo and the Texas Revolution, that's what that was about. Legal immigration, legal immigrants coming down to Texas that belonged to Mexico, and these guys became bandits. Illegal immigrants because they didn't follow the laws. But Texas gained its independence from Mexico. I don't know how one little state can gain their independence from a whole country with a big army. You know why? Because they had the backing of the United States. And actually, I think it was, Texas was the 45th state. Let me look into that, guys. I'll come back with that. But nevertheless, in 1845, Texas joined the United States. And, of course, Mexico losing Texas, they was nervous that it was going to be other things happening, which it was. Remember, the border of Texas, or the border of Mexico, used to be the Nueces River. So if you look at your map, the Nueces River in Texas was where Texas and Mexico split. But the United States said that no, the border is the Rio Grande River. Okay? And so when they said it was the Rio Grande River, of course, Mexico said, oh, no way. And so that's where the Mexican-American War started in 1846 to 1848. The United States went over there, burned down Mexico, destroyed Mexico City, okay? So let's think about this for a minute. And then after 1848, the United States received all their land, Colorado, Utah, Arizona, New Mexico, okay? Oklahoma, all of their land. And then in 1850, they got California in the Compromise of 1850. So Mexico lost a lot of land, guys. And so if the United States defeated Mexico in 1848 and took all the land that belonged to Mexico before and told them this is where Mexico begins and where it ends at the Rio Grande River, then who you think is the big dog? So now let's get back to immigration. Now you see how it's a farce? Now you see why so many Mexicans can come to America and get aid or not, because Mexico is basically the United States of the South. Just like Iraq, just like Afghanistan, just like Libya. Okay? So when you hear on the television that they shutting the border down and all that kind of stuff, get out of here. They built Highway 69 to go from Canada to Mexico. Okay, the USMCA, have you ever heard of that? United States, Mexico, Canada agreement, which replaced NAFTA. So all this stuff is just shenanigans. Just like MGTOW, MGTOW. They go on their own way. So, just want to give you a little history about Trump and Mexico and a little history behind it. Don't get it twisted. It's not an accident when you're in front of Home Depot. You see a lot of, so-called illegal immigrants. They're not illegal. They legal immigrants. Just like when the United States citizens was coming down to Texas back in the 1800s. Okay? So I hope I was able to enlighten you guys on a little history about Mexico and the United States and how don't believe the hype. It's not an accident that, there are more Mexicans almost in the United States and Hispanics than melanated. Come on, man. Mexico is owned by the United States. Let's not be twisted. Okay? All right, guys. In the meantime, between time, may the Most High Society bring you joy and being with us out of 5,000.